So today I'm working on my photo blocks, and I started by finding my pictures, and I used Google Slides. You can use whatever program you want to set them up. And then I bought fabric that had a backing that was designed to go through the printer, and I just printed it on my laser printer and then peeled off the backing, and now I have my photos. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them out and leave about 1/4 inch around, and then I'm going to press that under and then do a kind of applique top stitch these blocks onto colored squares, or blocks actually. I think the most effective way to cut these out is going to be to use my rotary cutter, and I'm going to line up with the edges of my photos, and I want to leave about 1/4 inch so that I have room to tuck these under. Of course, you could use scissors. It doesn't have to be perfectly cut because it is going to be pressed under this white part to give us a finished edge. Okay. So I have my first photo ready to go, and I'll take it over to the iron and press these edges under. I have one of my pictures and it's trimmed, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fold it just under that 1/4 inch, that extra white part, so that I have a finished edge. So I'm trying to line up with my outline that I made on my pictures, and I'm just going to do that on all 4 sides. So you can just double check. It doesn't have to be perfect, but from the top you should be able to have all 4 edges folded under. I'm just going to place my photo on top of my fabric, and I probably could use a ruler just to make sure that I'm even. And I'm going to pin this time. I thought about gluing, but I am a pin girl, so I like to pin diagonally, make sure the edges are still tucked. Pin diagonally so that it's easy to get in and out of these corners and to pivot and get my pins out of the way, whatever I need to do. So I'm going to pin it first, and I decided I wanted a really distinctive black edge, border for my photos, and I could have printed a bigger border. That would be one option, and then just straight stitch it. I'm going to do more of a traditional applique and use a zigzag. I have my zigzag set at 0.8 stitch length and 4 width, so that I'll get a nice kind of wide, tight zigzag. And then I realized I don't have any stabilizer, and one of the things I'm really interested in is like sustainability, using things that you have. So I have computer paper from a print job, and I tested this out already, and it works fine. It leaves a little bit of the paper behind, but I think it will be okay. So I'm just tucking that paper underneath. You don't need to pin it or anything. And that's just gonna make it so that my fabric doesn't get all bunchy when I go to sew it. So I'm gonna start at one of my corners, and I'm gonna line, so on my machine, it did recommend a different foot. So you wanna check your settings. So I did change my foot. I did put in a fresh, sharp needle because this fabric that I printed on has a really tight weave. And the other trick is that I want to go all the way to the edge of the fabric, and then I'll pivot with my needle on the outside. So I'll show you how that works. So if anything, I actually want to go a couple stitches past the edge. So, and my needle is down on the outside edge, so that when I pivot, I'm going to get a clean corner. And it's hard to get it exactly right, so I'm a little further in than I want to be, but it'll be okay. And then this is nice and tight, so I think you'll be fine without reverse stitching. You could pull your threads through and tie a knot on the back or put some fray check on the corners, but I think it'll be fine. One thing that I am noticing, not so much with this photo, but you can see it when I put it up to the light, I do get a little bit of the pattern, the print showing through. So if you were concerned about that, you could fuse some interfacing or add another layer to the photo before you put it on a print or put it on a white background. However you want to play with it. And now I can just tear off my paper. It should come off pretty easy because I did all those tight zigzags. And then it would be a good idea to press this on the back side before you actually start piecing it together. But there is my applique quilt block. I'm pretty excited. I love the border. I think that really sets off the picture.